What's going on, Raptor Nation? Inside the belly of the beast that is the ACC, I'm in the Raptors weight room with none other than Raptors head coach, Jay Triano. Jay, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of background, a little bit of history. You were raised in Niagara Falls?
Yeah.
Niagara region?
I was born in Tillsonburg, Ontario.
Yep.
And my dad was a high school teacher, and when he had the chance, he and my mom moved back to Niagara Falls, as that's where they were both from. So I basically lived there from the age of 5 to 18, and then that's when I went away to Simon Fraser University.
Okay, so how does a kid growing up in Niagara Falls, I'm assuming most of your friends were huge hockey fans, elite fans of those great teams back then. How did you become such a student of the game of basketball?
Well, I mean, ironically enough, Niagara Falls Collegiate, NFCBI, at the time, won 3 consecutive OFSA championships. And there was a really good hotbed of basketball there. Going as the younger son of the coach to the practices and being the ball boy and hanging around the gym all the time, I think it just kind of grows on you. You have a basketball in your hands, you're watching other players, it gives you something to aspire to as a young kid, and I think that's where it started.
I want to play a little game with you.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out the name of a coach that you've worked with, interacted with in your days.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me the one thing that you took away from that experience working with that gentleman. Cool?
Okay.
Okay, so the first name I'm going to throw out there is Jack Donahue.
Well, Jack taught me more than basketball. I mean, I was with him every summer for 11 summers representing Canada, and he taught you more about life than he did about the game of basketball, but we always had the basketball as the commonality. He just taught me, you know, more than I can ever remember. I mean, some of the drills and things we do with the Raptors now are things that we did in practices with him.
Lenny Wilkins.
Lenny Wilkins, quiet, Hall of Fame coach, didn't really need a whole lot of help when I was his assistant. I mean, he just, you know, had seen it all. You know, here I am as an assistant trying to learn how to be an NBA coach, but he had seen everything that I was seeing for the first time 1,000 times.
Kevin O'Neill.
Incredibly good defensive coach. Like, just had a defensive system, and when you think back to the Raptors days when he was coaching, we were in the top 7 in field goal percentage against, with players like Jalen Rose and Vince Carter, who didn't play a whole lot of defense. But you know, he had everybody buying into a system of defense. Yeah. Very, very sound defensive coach. Okay. A little bit crazy.
So next, Sam Mitchell.
Sam, seen it all. I mean, I think, you know, Sam had the ability to relate to every single player because he had to go to Europe. He had to play in the CBA. He was a bench player, he was a starter, and his best friend was Kevin Garnett. I just think Sam's overall ability was that, you know, he had been through every possible scenario that every player was going through, and therefore could relate to everybody.
Last but definitely not least, Coach K.
Incredibly organized and motivated. I've never seen as meticulous a practice plan as the ones he would put together.
The ball will always tell you where you're supposed to be. This is unpredictable movement.
Every day that I walked in to the meetings with the U.S. national team, there was the American flag and a gold medal right up on the front of the screen and on the playbooks. And then if you turned the page and then he would change the slide, it was the path that it's going to take, that we're going to take to get there. And it would, you know, going through that experience with them in the summer and how organized and how detailed he was, and I'd go back to the room and go, this is going to be something incredibly special because they're going to win the gold medal. And I just was a firm believer after being there for 2 days.
What players that you've coached and worked with had a huge impact on you?
Well, I think that the players that I can, you know, I think of the most probably is Steve Nash. I mean, coaching him just because his ability to put himself not at the forefront. You know, when he played for me on the national team, he was the hardest worker every day in practice. He stayed late, and all of a sudden, you know, guys who were on the bus going, who are we waiting for? Who are we waiting for? And the manager would come out and go, it's Steve, he hasn't finished his shooting. And those guys are looking at, here's the NBA guy that we have, and here we are. And there's one guy out there who's still working it.
Yeah.
I wonder, you know, what the correlation between him being so good is. And the next day, you know, and this is where coaching doesn't have anything to do with it. The next day, every guy stayed in the gym until Steve left. Just having a guy like that be your leader and be the captain of your team, and when he's always the hardest worker, always does the right thing, leads by example, it's quite easy to coach after that.
All right, Raptors Nation, listen, this is your opportunity. This is your chance. What you can do is send an email to akil@torontoraptors.com. The next time I get a chance to sit down with our good friend Jay Triano, I may ask your question. Also, if you want to submit a video question, go to YouTube, upload your video, and then send me the URL inside that email. And who knows, your video question may be the question that Jay Triano is responding to. Jay, I want to thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. All right, thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thanks.